Welcome to Someone's Gotta Drive. In my last episode, I talked about how we went to Maui and I got engaged. We had quite an engagement. It was about 18 months long. That year in particular, in 2018, not only had I gotten engaged, I had actually reached out to a family member of mine out in Washington State, a cousin of mine. And every June, we had these family reunions out in Western Pennsylvania. And this year in particular, I had convinced her to come on out. That year, we had her come out. She flew out to New Jersey. My sister came up from Maryland. We all got together and we drove out to Western Pennsylvania for our family reunion. And when we got there, we met my grandfather, let him have a moment with my cousin, and we met with my uncle. My uncle was always very close with me, for the most part. I mean, we grew up with him. So when we got out there, after having a moment with my grandfather, we decided to go back into the local town, have a nice dinner at a local restaurant, and spend the night at a nice hotel. We were telling my uncle about how I got engaged, how he took me out to Maui, the whole 9 yards. My uncle really loved us, not gonna lie. My uncle was also a very bad drunk. We didn't mind drinking with him from time to time, but honestly, these drunken episodes ended up being us up till like 2, 3 in the morning, having to wake up early the next day, get some breakfast, try to make our way out to the family reunion. But this time, it was a bit strange. He always tried to keep us from my grandfather, and he always tried to kind of keep us to himself. That I understood. Sometimes it was nice to, feel like he was being a little selfish with that. But this year in particular, it was a bit different. The next morning, we wake up, and honestly, he's like blackout drunk. And we're like, how much did you have to drink? And he's like, what are you talking about? I didn't drink that much. But he couldn't remember anything, and I mean anything, that he had said 5 minutes before. So I tried to get him to the local diner to have breakfast, where, honestly, super drunk. Like, we need some food in him. We need to get some coffee in him. Meanwhile, he is screaming at the other patrons at this diner that my sister, who had her finger in a splint, my sister's finger was broken because she shoved it up her husband's ass. And my sister was just mortified. And I mean, utterly mortified. And we even tried to kind of drive him in his own vehicle, and his vehicle was so trashed, it was bad. So somehow I fit 5 adults in my tiny little car, and we made our way over to the restaurant. But he was being so obnoxious that by the end of breakfast, I was done. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take you back to your car. I'm going to go to my grandfather's house and pick up all the stuff that I had to make this salad for our family reunion. And I'm just going to head over to the family reunion. That year in particular, we were also supposed to pick up something that my mother had left for us when she had passed away. It was some family gold. To find out, looks like she might have hawked it all, because we were not given very much. But that's a story for another time. This time, I let him go to his car, and I was just like, I don't care if you're drinking and driving. I don't care how drunk you are. I can't do this. So I went to the family farm. I picked up the items that I needed to make my salad that I had left there the night before, made my way out to the family reunion. And when I got there, my uncle actually wasn't there. He was kind of nowhere to be found, and I don't know where he went. I tell my grandfather what happened, how he was being drunk and unruly and embarrassing, and I just really needed a hug. That's exactly what he gave me. I had planned to have my cousin come out, and I had, really coordinated a lot of all this stuff. And I wanted it to be perfect, and all I felt like he was doing was ruining it. So, while we're at the family reunion, he does show up. But he shows up drunk. Couldn't even walk a straight line. Could barely even walk at all. It was really disheartening. My grandfather just looked at me and said, "You're not the one that's drunk. You're not the one acting like an asshole. Don't worry. It's okay." And honestly, it's how the rest of the family felt too. Let him be him. So, he kept being obnoxious, kept poking my sister in the shoulder for some stupid reason, which was really aggravating her. It wasn't just aggravating her, it actually was leaving a bruise on her. And that's what was getting to be concerning, was it wasn't, and no matter how many times we kept telling him to stop, he just wouldn't stop. And my cousin had lived out in Washington State like her whole life. She had heard the stories, but she had never truly witnessed it. For me, it was, honestly, I had been away from all this drunkenness. I had been away from all of the stupidity that comes with drug addiction and alcoholism. And now I am actually in the midst of it all over again, and I'm honestly not handling it very well. We go to my grandfather's house to pick up the family heirloom that my mother had left me. And my uncle, still drunker than anything, got in his car and went back to the hotel room. Now he's texting us though. "So what bar are you guys going to? When are you coming back to the hotel? When are we going to start drinking?" And honestly, the last thing any of us wanted to do was start drinking. Everyone was upset that I was upset. And I just was not handling him and his alcoholism at all. I was done. It's not how I wanted to spend my life, and it's not how I wanted to spend my night. And everyone just kind of looked at me and said, "We can just go home if you want. We don't have to stay here." And I was like, really? I had no problem at this point at 6 o'clock at night driving another 6 hours to get back to my apartment by, say, anywhere between midnight and 2 o'clock. I really had no problem with it. I was just, I'm good. We don't need this. And that's exactly what we did. We went to a place for dinner where we sat down. We had a bite to eat. I tried to decompress. And we went back to the hotel and said goodbye to my uncle. Or at least they said goodbye to my uncle. I couldn't. I tried. I walked upstairs and see if he would say I'm sorry or anything like that. But that just wasn't the case. I looked at him and said, "I'm sorry, but you're too drunk for me. Like, you really have a problem." I went back down, sat in my car, waited for my cousin and my sister to come downstairs. And they said, "Yeah, we asked him, how much alcohol did he drink?" And he pulled out this gallon of vodka. And he said, "Oh, only half of this." Half a gallon of vodka. And he was already starting up again. He proceeded to essentially say that he wasn't the problem, I was. And I'm the problem because I can't handle or respect him for who he is. I literally had a family in my car, my family, look at me and say, "That is not the actual case. Let me be real. That is what a narcissist says, okay? That's what an alcoholic says. That's what an addict says. They don't want to take the blame. They don't want to take accountability. They're not the problem. You are." That's just not the case. We told him he was being too drunk. He disregarded. We told him that we really think he has a drinking problem. He disregarded. And then proceeded to say, I was the problem, not him. So we left. The next morning, I dropped my cousin off at the airport, my sister off at the train station. And once my sister was out of view, I just started bawling my eyes out. Why? I'm about to plan a wedding. And guess what? This is what we're about to contend with. This is why I don't want a big wedding. My uncle is a drunk, and he's going to act like a blithering fool. My biological father, too. He loves to drink, and he's going to act like an asshole, too. What you see now, what you are experiencing right now, that is what my wedding is going to be. My husband just couldn't believe it. He was like, that's not the case. That's not how this is going to be. And I said, nope, it is. I guarantee it. This is how it's going to go. And he just said, oh, I'm sure it'll be okay. I really was dreading planning this wonderful, perfect, beautiful day because you can't control what other people do. But can I control inviting them? Can I not invite them? I just don't think so. The first thing that we decided to do when it came to planning our wedding was actually plan the venue. We can't give a date, we can't give a time until we have an actual venue booked and in place. So it was one of the first things I started to do. We knew about what we wanted to pay per person or in total. And we actually found this really beautiful historic place called the Old Mill Inn. We wanted an outdoor wedding. We wanted something that was going to feel not super fancy, but still fancy. My husband and I, we love historical things, and this place has been around since like the 1700s, had its own history to it, and honestly, the food was really good. The price point was pretty much right where we wanted it to be too, on top of it all. So we went ahead and booked the I guess you could say hotel, because it also had a hotel in it, but we booked our venue for our wedding for September 28th of the next year. I want to say we probably booked that in like July, I think it was. And I remember my mother-in-law just being like, oh, wow, you already booked your venue? And I was just kind of like, well, like, why not, essentially? Save the date, because this is the date we picked. We kind of felt like we could pick whatever date we really wanted to, especially with it being about a year and a half out, which isn't too terribly bad. That September, we went ahead and not only booked our engagement party to celebrate our engagement, but we also decided to do some engagement photos as well to do our save the dates. You know, we tried to do everything, like maybe one thing a month, or at least tried to keep the engagement party a year out from the actual wedding. It was almost a year to the day, actually, which always made it a little confusing on the dates, because people were like, wait a minute, what day are you getting married and what day is the party? Like, it was like, okay. So we were getting married on September 28th, but our engagement party was like September 27th or something like that. For the most part, all the big things were really done at that point. I hadn't gotten my dress, but other than that, we had a venue, and I had all these ideas on Pinterest. My mother-in-law helped pick out flowers, because honestly, she's really great at flowers. I was like, I just want this bouquet, and she was able to like pick out all the flowers and tabletops and everything else to kind of go around that. And I was sitting there listening to her like talk to the florists, and they're like, we're going to do these calla lilies and this and that and blah blah blah. And I was just like, sure, yeah, like, I'm sure whatever you pick will be beautiful. Like, that's just kind of how I was about it, because I really know nothing about flowers. I just want something beautiful. That's it. And, I was able to say, I want this bouquet. And she kind of just ran with it. And it was really awesome. I also kind of delegated a bit to my mother-in-law. One of the things that I think she really enjoys is that there is no other family members for her to contend with, she didn't have to worry about stepping on the toes of the mother of the bride or anything like that. She was just the mother. And she actually tried to really, separate some of her time, even the day of the wedding, between me and her son to spend time with both of us while we even got ready. She really is just such a wonderful woman, and I loved and thoroughly enjoyed planning my wedding with her. She really not only has great taste, but she just helped me in ways that I never knew I even needed. We also, so once we had that engagement party in September, we were honestly, we were a bit done for a while. We didn't really need anything else to be done. Come January of the next year, then we would start doing a little bit more. But in all fairness, once September was done, October is my birthday, November is Thanksgiving, December is Christmas. We were kind of just plenty busy. And one of the things that we did make sure to do was to make sure that we weren't really planning our wedding around maybe someone else's anniversary or birthday, because we did kind of want to make sure that it was going to not impede on someone else's special day as well. I had gone online and found an officiant that was actually on the cheaper side. Kind of felt like we really didn't need to pay too much money for an officiant. I know that sounds a little crazy, but one of the reasons why we felt that way was because, we were just kind of doing an outdoor wedding. We weren't doing something like in a church or anything like that. We just really needed someone who was going to come to our venue and marry us, which that's exactly what we got. So by the time January hit, my mother-in-law had actually signed us up for this wedding expo to go to. And so I remember going there being extremely overwhelmed by all the people and vendors that were there. But I also remember being like, hey, look, there's my officiant. And my mother-in-law was like, do you want to stop and talk to him? I was like, nope, he's already booked. Like, there's no reason. We'll talk when we get closer to the time. And she just was like, okay. I remember seeing these models in these dresses and thinking to myself, definitely not my style. I remember seeing, a little bit of everything. And I was just like, no, we didn't really want someone painting our wedding at our wedding. We didn't really want, a photo booth for some reason. We just didn't really want to have it. We just wanted decent music, good booze, and good food, and to have a good time. One of the things that was actually really nifty about our wedding was that we also wanted to have outdoor games. So once again, it was an outdoor wedding. So we kind of wanted there to be yard games and lawn games that everyone could kind of play. And so we did. We had dominoes for the yard. We had Scrabble and tic-tac-toe and ring toss. And we got some really amazing pictures, especially with the ring toss. But it was just kind of a way to lighten it up. Here in New Jersey, weddings are great. They're fun. They're fancy though. There's loud music, lots of loud music. A lot of times there's some sort of photo booth going on, but a lot of times it's just a whole bunch of people getting really drunk to really loud music, and by the end of it, you really are just exhausted from it all. Where we kind of felt like our wedding was a little bit more refreshing. I say that because we had not only had a dance floor, we had the outdoor games, and they were all sorts of different games, separated and just not everyone on top of each other. It wasn't just constant loud music. It really was the perfect day for us, honestly. To this day, my husband and I look back at it and we're like, we had the best wedding ever. So we had done things and planned pretty much all of this really on Pinterest. We had put together, sunglasses that had, our names on them for wedding party favors. We had not balloons, but bubbles. We did all the fun things. And honestly, finally came time for the wedding. My mother-in-law had done a beautiful bridal shower before. It was nice, quaint, and quiet. Everything just seemed to be perfect leading up to my wedding day. And then my wedding day hit. And it was like a wedding weekend. And if you've ever seen How I Met Your Mother, that's kind of how it felt. Like a full weekend that turned into one full season of a show.